All right, so now that we talked about reactions being exothermic or endothermic, meaning they release energy or they absorb energy, let's talk about how this applies to food and the calorie content associated with food. So when we have a substance and we want to know the amount of energy that it produces when it goes to combustion, we use this thing called a calorimeter. And a calorimeter is a pretty simple object. We have a place where you put your sample, your food, or whatever it is. We have a heating coil. We fill that chamber with oxygen, because remember, for combustion, things need to react with oxygen. And then we put that whole thing, which is typically a metal container, into a bath of water. And what we do is we ignite, we run current through the wire, and that current heats up the area down by the sample, and that starts the combustion reaction. Your sample burns, it produces energy, right? Because anything that's combusting will produce energy, which means the products are lower in potential energy than the reactants. It's an exothermic reaction. Combustion is an exothermic reaction. And that, as it burns, it produces heat. The heat goes out into the water and causes the temperature of the water to go up. We measure this change in temperature of the water, and from that we can determine how much energy was produced by the thing that burned, the food that burned. Okay. So that is our process for measuring energies of a reaction associated with combustion. So we will do this with foods to determine how many calories or how much energy is produced by the combustion of the food. Okay, so in this case, this is burning combustion. In your body, it's reacting with oxygen. So the amount of energy exchange is exactly the same, but maybe the process isn't exactly the same, meaning that, in the calorimeter, the sample burns, like physically burns. In your body, you have things that assist in breaking down the food, so you're not actually burning something, but it is a combustion reaction because it's a reaction with O2. All right, so we talked about the three different biomolecules that pretty much make up food: carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. And with all those, as they react in your body, as they go through the combustion reaction in your body, they produce a certain amount of energy. So typically carbohydrates will produce 4 calories per gram. So if you eat 10 grams of carbohydrates, it's going to give you 40 grams or 40 calories of energy. Okay, so the calorie, notice the calories are capital C. That's the large value of calorie, and that we're measuring per gram. So it's the amount of energy produced per gram of whatever we're combusting. Carbohydrates: rice, potatoes, bread. Most vegetables and fruit are carbohydrates, and in whole milk there's some carbohydrates, but we're going to see that whole milk there's a bunch of stuff in. Right, the second thing we have here is proteins. Protein, the calorie content of protein is also 4 grams or 4 calories per gram. So for every 1 gram of protein you eat, you get 4 calories of energy. 4 calories of energy are released. And we know proteins are typically in meats, some dairy products, beans, things like that. Proteins are important for you to build muscle and things like that. And the last one we have is fats. Fats have a calorie content of 9 calories per gram, definitely the highest of the 3. And that's fats are going to occur in a lot of things, but definitely in oils or butters, whole milk. Any animal fats are going to have, obviously, fat. So with those numbers, we can calculate the amount of calories that a typical food sample or serving size is going to produce. Again, we have the labels on the food, which gives us nutritional facts. It gives us the fat content, in this case 3 grams of fat, the carbohydrates, in this case 34 grams, and protein 10 grams. So it gives us the amount of each that we have, so we can use that table over here to determine the total energy that's produced. So if we got 10 grams of protein, we said protein has an energy content of 4 calories per gram. If we have 10 grams of protein, 10 times 4 is, let me see, protein, we've got 10 grams, and we know that 1 gram of protein, combustion of 1 gram produces 4 calories. So 10 times 4 is 40 calories. We said the same thing about carbohydrates. So carbs. In this case, it says we have 34 grams of carbohydrates. And we said that there's 4 calories per 1 gram in carbohydrates. So 4 times 34, 136 calories. Oops, I should put a capital C, right? Sorry. Capital C. And then for fats, we said that fats produce 9 calories per gram. Here we can see we got 3 grams. So, and that's 9 calories for every 1 gram. That's 27. So if we add 27 calories, if we add all those up, I get 3, 5, 6, I got 203 calories. And you can see on the label, they got 200. They just round to 2 7 figures. All right. So that's how the calorie content is determined in foods.